Ciao ragazzi, welcome back to Inter Worldwide for an awesome show, an awesome episode. With the turn of the new year and being very busy, Ale and I took a little bit longer to get this next episode out there, but we are here today. We are together and we're happy to bring this show to you guys right now. There's 17 people live on Inter Worldwide. So before you do anything, like the video, head over to the Bianconeri Zone and subscribe to that channel as well to keep getting all of their updates. It's going to be a good show today, probably a lot more optimistic from our end than from their end, but as usual, you'll only hear the real stuff. So big up to everybody in the chat so far. Thank you to the channel members who are here as well. Thank you, W. Inter players know the weight of the shirt. I'm sure our guests will have an opportunity to comment on the other side of that soon. Thank you to our resident moderator, Mattia, for being here and letting everybody know. And yeah, good to see you, Juicy, in the chat as well. And let's just get started. Before we jump into talking about things, first of all, how are you doing, bro? For anyone that follows your channel knows that you're a little bit under the weather with your health. Like I said on stream, off stream, you're so bloody consistent. There were so many times that I just wanted to pick up my phone and, bruv, take a load off for a second, take a load off. But big up to you, man. How you feeling?
Good. Personally good. Football-wise, bad. Oh, actually, now this week is good. There's no football on, so or like no club football on, so much better. Even though like the news is making it very hard to be to be excited about anything.
It's hard to even focus on what aspect of the news to cover first with you guys, because I think the best way to call it is just a melting pot at the moment. You know, different things moving around different ways, not too many people willing to take the right sort of accountability. It's going to be tough, going to be very tough. What decisions need to be made to clean up this mess, man? Like, how do you view it from your perspective? The microphone is yours.
I mean, if I knew that, I think nobody knows that, to be honest. Right now, it's I think right now, everybody's just trying to save their own face, from coaching to management to players as well. It's just nobody's taking any accountability right now. That's just as clear as day. And that's also why we are it's a mess. Like it's a complete mess right now. Like you can look at it at 1,000 angles. It's a mess. Like the news on the pitch. The crazy part is we only lost 2 games in Serie A, which is actually insane. If you told me that you know at the start of April, because that's basically our next game, we'd only lost 2 games in the league. If you told me that in the summer, I was like, well, yeah, I'll take it. However, I'm not taking it because the last 2 games or 3 games in the league we lost. Sorry, the last 2 games, yeah, you can see the 7 goals, and I think you had 2 shots on target in those 2 games. And right now, I think nobody knows. Obviously, Motta is going to pay for it because it's the easy thing to do. but it's not the main reason. You're not going to solve it just by removing Motta, who is making mistakes, by the way, is stubborn with his beliefs. But with all the news coming out, I find it harder and harder to, because I'm not one of those guys to say sack him. To be honest, I know that sounds crazy, purely because I don't trust the club to make for the next step to make the right decisions. The news now, the last couple of days is actually unbelievable. Like it's unbelievable. Like it screams incompetence. Like if you look it up, it like the logo of the club is next to the word in the dictionary, incompetence, right now. That's just what it is. I think nobody, like no fan, believes in anything at this club, because you can, like, if you last summer we decided to remove, in my opinion, a legend of the club, Allegri. I know Juve fans are a bit iffy. For me, he's a legend, and you said it's ground zero. 60 new players, new coach, and after 8 months, if you tell me being Juntoli at spearheading this, saying I'm out, then I'm like, you need to be out as well, because I cannot trust you. If you do not trust your own decisions after 8 months, then I cannot trust you with the club right now. But the reality is, there's no quick solution. We waited too long. If they actually wanted to sack Motta, it should have happened. The fact that it's not happening right now is, like, for me, it makes sense. Like, with 8-9 games to go, you keep him. But the news is not that. The news is that they're still going to sack him. I'm like, it's 8 games. You had 2 weeks. You didn't do that. Then what are we trying to do? So it's a mess, And actually today, it's good that I'm live on this channel, not on my channel, because I probably would have got suspended, or that live stream would have got canceled, because the players are actually embarrassing. And the players
What have
we
I
have,
missed?
for example, like, there are players I like, but I don't like. I like in terms of they have quality, but I don't like any of these players. Like, they've done absolutely nothing for me. Like, nothing. Like, if 20 years from now, like, if it ends here, this project, we sell players, I'm not going to talk about Locatelli or Gatti, or like, I'm not going to talk about these players. They've done absolutely. I don't care. They won like a Super Coppa and a Coppa Italia. I couldn't care less about that. They don't mean anything to me. And the latest example, in my opinion, again, if players go against a coach, that's one thing. If multiple players, they leak stuff, that means the club is okay with it to happen. Cambiasso, for example, a player I like because of his qualities, I don't like what he's doing right now. If you have an issue with Motta, I understand that. Players have issues with coaches, whatever. But if you have an injury and you go to the, like, and the situation of the club right now, what it is, and you decide to go to the Azzurri knowing full well you're not fit, and then you need to return again, wasting kind of a week of I don't know what, basically. I'm sorry. Like, the priorities of certain players are just gone. Also, it's Nations League. You're not even playing, like, they're not meaningful games. I'm sorry. They're like,
No.
like, they're not. I've heard I forgot who it was. I heard a Spanish player talking about it. It's like, it's different. You play those games, but the intensity, it's not the same. Like, it means nothing really. You go and then you need to come back. The players are just completely off, and a lot of these players think they have done something for the club, and they've done nothing. So I don't know where this is coming from. What I do know is the club is allowing them to do it, and they're getting away with it. That's why I'm saying, if you change Motta, fine, but the issues are just there. You might get a tune out of some, for a couple of weeks, but at the end, the result will be the same.
Yeah, no, well said. The results have been sketchy, even some of your positive ones, Verona, Cagliari, the first leg against PSV. You guys haven't really had a run of form this year, or a chunk where you could see the project or the operation going in the direction that it was meant to go in. It's been very, if I'm allowed to say politely, very experimental, to say the least. And I don't know if you can put 100% on that blame, for Motta because I know he's had injuries, but every club has had injuries and every coach adapts at least with some sort of consistency. With Thiago Motta, I've seen him just experiment time and time again. And I'm sure you could talk about it better than I could. What I want to know is going forward this season, regardless of how you change management and how you change coach, there's too many players on this squad to change the whole squad again. You already did a half version of that in last offseason with Juntali when he spent $200 to buy players for Thiago Motta, his system and his style moving forward. The next decision you guys make managerial-wise, as important as it is, that manager is going to have a squad full of players that he has to work with no matter what. I mean, you can't get Coop Miners out for someone just as expensive as him. You can't just replace all these players that you bought in with Juntali, or can you? Maybe you'll tell me different. Has anyone at the club or has anybody, in the tighter Juventus circles that you've spoken about what's going to happen with the squad or the players if Thiago Motta is changed? Because going to someone like Gasperini or someone who would be playing a more reserve style of football, you'd probably need a few more players.
No, nobody knows because nobody knows what's going to happen. Like they are not even sure if they're going to sack him, yes or no, mid-season. So I'm assuming they have no idea what's going to happen in the summer. A lot of these players are on loan. The only news that's kind of confirmed out there is that all talks about contracts have been stopped, which kind of makes sense, I guess. Points towards Motta is gone at the end of the season, 100%. And they're not really sure what they want to do. But you cannot do what you did in the summer again. Like it was like that's my biggest issue. It was already a big stretch. I don't think the expectations were extremely high, but for Juntali to kind of give up already on it is extremely worrying. I've seen the reports out there, from decent sources saying that he believes that with 2-3 signings in the summer and adjustments, this is a title-winning squad. I don't see it because I think there's quality in it, but there's no minds. Like nobody believes in what they're doing. There's no player I'm looking at. I'm like, yeah, you're the guy. I look at players. I'm like, you have something, but you're not that guy. Like you're just
your best
not,
player, if I'm allowed to say, your best player this season has been Kefren Turan, and his minutes have not justified his impact, to be honest. I mean, if I was Motta, I would have been starting him as the foundational point of the midfield as far back as maybe late October, early November.
Oh yeah, I think everybody would agree with that. But even with him, like he's still kind of raw. There's no player out there like, and the issue with me and with the fan, what I have with the fan base is like they fall in love way too soon with players. That is my biggest issue. Conceição, for example, he has done nothing for me. Like, and actually, the things he's done scream, do not pay 40 million in total for him. However, it's been so kind of quote unquote depressing, and he has some flashes here and there that people are like, you need to pay him. It's good value for money in the market. I'm like, there's better value. I've seen this value and it's not good enough. Why? Like, I hate the excuse of you won't get any better. Who says that? Look, have you looked? Because they've seen consistent, for example, and that's also the issue. Like players get overhyped where I'm sitting at. I'm like, you don't deserve, like you've done absolutely nothing for me or for this club, in general. So that's also an issue. I guess I can name 3, 4, 5 players in the squad, so, but yeah, man, it's a mess. I feel for Motta in some regard, not because I don't feel him for not getting the team going, basically, because that's kind of on him. But I do feel for him that he's getting blamed for things where I'm like, that's not on the coach, actually. But it's an easy target right now, and everybody is, piling on. I've seen Zaccaroni speak and Del Neri speak. I didn't even know these people were alive. They were silent for 3 years. They're all speaking.
Did they actually have the nerve to speak? I didn't know that Del Neri came out and spoke.
Yeah, he said, "Oh, I didn't get 200 million and crap like that." And I'm like, better, like you're a shit coach. Like you're shit. Everybody knows you because you coach Juve. That's it. Otherwise, nobody would know who you are. Like 3 years, basically nothing. 2 weeks, I've seen Zaccaroni give an interview. Again, with all due respect, I didn't know he was still alive. And he was speaking about winning and mindset. I'm like, Jesus Christ, you were rubbish. Like, I'm sorry, but that tells me that the club is perfectly fine. Just attack the Motta guy, and hopefully you forget about us, basically. Which I think for once the fan base will not do, which is maybe positive.
I can just picture Del Netti's shit mustache moving as he says, as he spits that shit. That's it. Just like dribble when he speaks, man. We've got 30 people on Inter Worldwide right now. That's awesome. Like the video, subscribe if you're new. Last question before everybody thinks this is just a personal attack on Juve show. Yes, it's funny, but it's still very serious at the same time. The Giuntoli situation. Surely a lot of the fans are sitting there saying that he's come from Napoli, where he worked in a team, but he's come over to Juve and has been made to almost work out of his capabilities a little bit. Who's to blame for that? I'm trying to be as nice as possible here, but I don't think Giuntoli's done an awful job, because I think on paper, the targets that he identified to sign, it was unanimously agreed with management, board, even ownership and fans. These are the right profiles to bring in. Looking back on it now in hindsight, some of the decisions are very bad, especially the outgoings. What's it called? Lots of youngsters as well that are performing pretty well, from Fagioli to Miretti. What are your thoughts about the players that have left? Do you think that he could have handled a lot of those in a better way? Once again, Soulé wasn't the highest sought-after profile when he was with you guys, but the fact that you've traded him up for Nico Gonzalez and he's been used, I don't know, man. You can take the words out of my mouth.
I mean, we overpaid for players in the summer. I said it, like Douglas Luiz was not needed. You know, we needed to do something at the back. So he has made some mistakes, letting Huijsen go and then turning around and paying 20 million for Kelly. Yes, we got a lot of injuries. Nobody knew that, but still, like, he has made some horrible deals. You know, I think the Nico Gonzalez one, we overpaid. Like, that's a player I wouldn't pay that money for, but Motta's playing him out of position. He's not helping him one bit at all. Letting go of players, we knew what the drill was. We needed money, clean money. That's like, I don't blame him for the financial situation of the club, because he came in and it was what it was. You know, it's actually much improved right now. However, on the pitch, it's not improved. Now, I agree. Like, Koopmeiners is a quality player. You know, Douglas Luiz somehow from 6 injuries in 6 years to 1,000 injuries in 6 months. I don't know if I need to blame Motta. I'm not sure, because we had that with Allegri as well. So it's probably a club thing. I think the one I feel mad about is letting Huijsen go. I think that's probably the only one. To be honest, Miretti is on loan. Sule, I was okay with it, I guess. You know, I liked Sule, and I was like, give him a shot. But it was not where it's like, if we let him go, it's the end of the world for me. And with Fagioli, I was never high on Fagioli, if I'm being completely honest. People know that. I think he's a good player. I think he deserved more of a shot. But again, if a coach doesn't rate you, it's for your own good that you kind of need to leave. But it's weird and it's frustrating for fans when he plays Koopmeiners and he doesn't get anything out of it. And he benches Fagioli every single week. Who, by the way, it's a narrative out. He played well against Leipzig, which is ages ago. Then turned around to Cagliari and was rubbish. Then got benched, but he hasn't done a horrible job, but he hasn't done a good job. And on management-wise, he's the only one at the club right now. That's on ownership. He's the only one at the club right now in control, because the other two guys, the president and whatever, they are bankers, literally. Like, they don't come out of the football world. They have no clue. So he is just in total control. Yeah, the finances he needs to ask, I think, up top, but nobody is saying, like, Ferrero and Scanavi, they don't know anything about this. So they don't, like, if you had Agnelli still there, for example, and you had Netfed in the board, whatever, and you had a Pratici doing thing or a Marotta, it's different, because those guys have credibility to say, should we be doing that? Really? Is that, like, right now, nobody's questioning him. Like, those two guys have no clue what's going on. Like, they are just there to make sure the finances are in check. Probably Giuntoli asked him, this is the transfer. Is this, perfectly feasible for the club. They sign off and they don't ask questions. Do we need him? Is that needed? Do we need? So he's in charge of way too much. So I think that's something that might change in the summer. I don't think he's getting sacked, but I think people will join
Yeah,
management wise.
Fair enough, guys. Thank you, everybody in the comments as well. I really appreciate it. Thank you for keeping it respectful. Let's move on now, and then we'll keep going with a few other topics regarding Serie A. At the end of the season, we could end up just as upset as you guys. We could still lose it all. It's very busy. April is full of anxiety, but it could also be full of amazement. We've got it all to play for, but all to lose. Inter have Coppa Italia coming up when we get back from the international break. We have Udinese first, and then a few days later we have, I believe, Parma or Milan in the Coppa Italia, and then Parma. There's a nice little 7-day gap bracket there with 3 games, and we are playing one game every 2.8 days, I think it is, in April, which is borderline physically sickening. But at the end of the day, you got to be there to win it all, and we are still here. Inter will look to receive players back from the international break. We will look to go into the April fixtures stronger than how we left March, squad-wise, in terms of injuries and whatnot. We had that very awesome / dodgy headline of Lautaro Martinez only being on the training ground for 40 minutes for Argentina before he took a plane home because he was injured or muscle fatigue, apparently. I live in the real world where I do believe in some sort of suspicion where we are holding on to some players here to make sure that they don't get aggravated in the Nations League or aggravated on international duty. There were some fans that saw that headline and went, Lautaro could miss a couple of games. We're worried. I go, mate, if that guy took the pitch for Argentina against Uruguay or Brazil, he would have come back looking a lot worse. I will throw over to my guest in a second, but everybody who's in the chat, make sure you're giving your opinions on how you're feeling for this international break. Me personally, I was so happy to see this international break. Very rarely am I ever happy to see international football, but this was a great time for Inter to take a break and reassess things, especially after the 3 points away in Bergamo and Napoli slipping away in Venice as well. Ale, how are you seeing my boys? How are you seeing us going forward? Do you think that there are any risky any big things that could happen to us that could prevent us from either going all the way Scudetto-wise or making a decent run at the Champions League? Bayern Munich's a very tough opponent. I know it's not the Bayern Munich of 5, 7, 10, even 14 years ago, but I don't need to say anything else. It's Bayern Munich in the quarterfinals of the Champions League, and that's all that needs to be said.
Well, injuries, I guess, could potentially derail you guys. That's it. I think the title is wrapped up. I don't know how many points it is. 3? 4?
It's 3, but I know we look better than Napoli form-wise and squad-wise. We're shitting ourselves, man, because of the congestion versus Conte having 9 games left to play. But what Napoli's showing now is what you sort of predicted to me at the start of the season. Like, wheels will fall off or loosen in some way, shape, or form.
Yeah, I mean, it's still 1 game a week, but I still need to give credit to Antonio Conte because let's be honest, that Napoli squad is not good. Like, it's not good. They don't have a lot of quality or options in it. Like, they have they signed Okafor from Milan. Like, it's that bad. They have Raspadori up top. Somehow Conte's getting goals out of him. That's actually a miracle as well. I mean, they don't have a good enough squad. I saw, like I said, I don't know, like the last 7 games, they won 2 maybe or so, or 3. I don't know what it is. I don't think they have enough. I think they will just fall back, and I think you will win that because you just have more quality than them as well. I think the Coppa Italia, you play Milan, right?
Yeah, I want us to play the Primavera or the Chi team in that first leg, and I think that we will.
They're poor. Like, they're really they're really poor. They won.
This will be the match of their season, though. Now it's all that they've got left to play.
Yeah, on paper, yeah, but they're bad. Like, I know they won the last game. They shouldn't have, like, against Como. They shouldn't have won that game. So that's that. The Bayern, that's kind of a toss-up in my opinion because on the day Bayern are unplayable, but on their day you can easily beat them as well. It's a very weird team from what I've seen this season. So again, you can win it all or lose. I don't think you're going to lose it all. Like I said, I think you win the title. I predicted at the start of the season. as well. And the Coppa Italia should kind of be quote unquote easy as well. I mean, you should be beating Milan, and then it's, I don't know, Bologna in the final, or Empoli for all sake.
Bologna or
Yeah.
Empoli. So that'll be very interesting to see one of them in a final. That's for sure.
Yeah. I mean, you set yourself up perfectly. Like, you couldn't. Maybe you could have asked more. I guess, you know, bigger cushion on Napoli, but Napoli are doing. Yeah, with Conte, something insane in my opinion, considering the squad he has. Like, I don't know half the players. Like, literally,
Yeah.
like they signed players from Bournemouth. The guy who scored against you guys, I forgot his name. Is it Bellingen? I don't know.
So Balogun.
Yeah,
Balogun.
like that's the squad they have. So it's probably the Champions League, I guess. But the I don't think. Besides Real Madrid, nobody goes into the season saying we're gonna win it. I guess, you know. So if you don't win it, it's not. You didn't fail this season, you know.
No,
if
of course
that
not.
makes sense, you know. But you have a shot against Bayern. Why not? You know.
course.
But again, it's a weird team. I watched Leverkusen Bayern in the league, 0-0, and that game should have been 4-0 for Leverkusen. And then they turned around 2 weeks ago and they smacked them around twice. You know, they had no shot in the league, and then in the Champions League, it's all loose. So that's a toss up. It's an interesting game, but I think you're set up again, you know, to win, because you have the best squad, and also just a know-how. I think that's more important. You know, if I look at my squad, Juve squad, nobody knows how to win. Like, literally nobody knows how to win. When I look at the Inter squad, almost everybody knows how to win because they've done it. You know, the coach has done it. So it kind of makes it. I know as a fan, like when we were winning 9 in a row, in the back of my mind, I knew we're going to win it. But on the day, you know, when you're only 3 points, 4 points ahead, you're like, man, it's close. We're not going to make it. But, you know, at the end of the season, you look back, you're like, yeah, we're always going to make it. Like, we're just better, you know? So only injuries, but I don't think it's DiMarco only, right? But I think he will be fine.
Well,
from what I've seen.
By the time we get back from international break, we've basically got 4 major players that wouldn't be available today. That would be Zielinski, DiMarco, Dumfries, and Lautaro. But on top of that, Bastoni would have a red card to fulfill against Udinese. But the international break, there's still 11 days of it left. I know how this thing has worked. Looking at our schedule coming back, Inzaghi was never going to play the strongest 11 in that first week. In that first 2 games against Udinese at home at the Miazza and away to Milan, or, you know, you can call it away, the away fans of Milan, we were never going to put our full foot on the gas. So it's the perfect time for us to ease some players back. If Dumfries was 80% going into the international break, he'll be 95% by that time, and we can start him on the bench. Same with Lautaro. DiMarco and Zielinski will probably be the only 2 players that aren't physically fit enough to take the pitch. It's a good return fixture for us because, like I said on my channel when I did the Serie A review show this week, Torino and Udinese players must get like a bonus when they sign for the club. Their president must go, oh, by the way, you get to go on holidays 2 months earlier than any other athlete in Italy because you know exactly where you're going to finish. It'll be 10th or 11th. You'll be that far from relegation, but too far from Europe. You can start going, you know, to Amalfi, to Como. You can go to Portugal with your family at the back end of March. Udinese at the Miazza, we should be slapping them up. I know they're not the worst team in Serie A, far from it, but they're the perfect team for you to face coming back from international break, who are not looking at a calendar, are not looking at season projection, are not looking at European or relegation positions. So I expect us to win that game and then only have to play a reserve side against Milan. And by that point, if things have gone well, we should have most of our players back for the rest of the fixtures of the season. And yeah, hopefully we can at least get past Bayern because
Who's
Champions
next?
League has been.
If you beat Bayern, what's next? If you beat Bayern,
if we beat Bayern, do they do a redraw for the semifinals? I don't think that they do that.
No. I think it's Barcelona. I think
I think it is Barcelona. I think it is.
I think you also have a shot against them. They score I think they scored over 100 goals already this year. I think they scored an average of 3-point+ goals a game, which is actually insane.
They've been balling out this season. That's
but
right.
They also concede a lot of goals.
It's Arsenal and Real Madrid play the winner of Paris and Aston Villa, and Barcelona and Dortmund play the winner of Bayern and Inter. look, another round of progression would be awesome. We couped 11 of the 14 million euros that were distributed from UEFA to the Italian teams this time around. So, yeah, we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens. But for me, it's still all eyes on the Scudetto. It's the number one priority. I know people say the Champions League is the be-all and end-all, but for me, it's always going to be the Scudetto. And until I get halfway through the second leg of a semi-final in the Champions League and go, oh, damn, we're going to have another game in a couple of weeks' time to win it all. But we'll see what happens there. I think that's it for Inter. There's no real other news for anybody here on the channel. We'll do some transfer stuff next week. We'll talk Nico Paz. We'll talk Gula and all that fancy stuff. Let's move on to some of the big difference results this season that really made the difference in terms of, well, we're mostly talking about Juve again here, but the catalytic results that sort of turned things around for the worse, because there were a couple of games early in the season where most people, not this gentleman next to me, but a few people were like, this is where the new Juventus is born. This is the new dawn. I think it was against RB Leipzig? Did you have your best game in the Champions League?
Yeah, it was the best game. I think after that game, I was like, this feels like the old Juve spirit, but it's a one game. But it felt good, 10 men down. With 10 men, and you come back, being down as well, a goal. I was like, this is the Juve spirit. However, it's one game. And we've not seen it ever since. Like, not even close.
I'm gonna pick on a couple of games here. So, well, that was your thought after that one, but then you had a chance to carry on with that. And I remember you drew 1-1 with Cagliari in the league. After that, you got a red card. Then after that, you beat Lazio, but you lost at home in the Champions League to Stuttgart. But then you had the nice little 4-4 against us. What were your thoughts then? Did you think that the comeback against Inter was meant to spark something that the Leipzig result didn't?
Maybe a little bit, because still early on in the season, I was like, okay, we should have been down 5 at one point. We didn't. We got away with it, and to come back away to Inter, like it's good. Like it's not an everyday. Actually, 8 goals against between the clubs. I don't know. That's probably never gonna happen again in my lifetime. But still, it was a good thing, I guess. I was like, okay, good response. But it kind of fell off a little bit already at that time. I was like, it's a good response, but being down already was kind of the main issue, in my opinion. Why are you down, so many, and why you almost got away with it? Because it should have been 5. So I was still iffy at the time. It was just a bit later where I was like, yeah, this is not working out,
Yeah.
For me, the biggest one is PSV away.
Yeah. I'm getting to that soon, because, mid-December, you had the fantastic result against Manchester City. And I think that was the game where most of the fans said, we can go toe-to-toe with a brilliant side, but this is a Manchester City side that physically and mentally isn't really the same beast as it was. It was later confirmed in that month that their manager's going through some really horrible personal stuff as well. So this entire Manchester City season is just going to end up being erased from their history altogether. Like, they probably look like they would struggle to make Champions League if you look at the EPL standings at the moment.
Yeah.
But following that result, you had a very poor home result to Venezia as well. And then you basically came into the new year being eliminated from the Supercoppa, a tie in the Derby della Mole, which even I know, you should be going to bed the night before, scratching in 3 points for Juventus there without even looking at the game. And pretty much from that point on, it hasn't been happy days.
No, we won 5 we won 5 in the league in a row before Atalanta did us. But the PSV one is the worst thing. It's actually good that I got surgery, because I got tickets and I didn't go, which is good that I didn't need to witness that live. Because PSV are not good. They're not a good team. They were missing, I don't know how many players. That backline is horrible, like actually horrible. And we couldn't lay a glove on them in the second leg. What makes it worse is that we were in total control in that first half. Not that we created a shitload of chances, but we were just in total control. We had the ball and they had absolutely nothing. And then the second half, they just completely outmuscled us, outpaced us, outplayed us, like everything, doing absolutely nothing special. That is the worst part. They did nothing special. It was just the drive, the intensity, the bare minimum, and the mistakes in that game, because you go down and like 5 minutes later you equalize out of the blue, literally. And that was the time where I was like, Motta, you're probably, setting yourself up here because he was making subs. Wea scores and he calls those subs off. And those subs were needed. They were just needed because the players he was pulling out were playing against us, literally. They were not doing anything. And to make that decision just because you fluked a goal from a set piece, for me, is just probably his biggest mistake of the season. 100% his biggest mistake, because post game he got absolutely slated by everybody in the media as well, calling out the same thing, saying the goal doesn't change. Like, the goal doesn't make Coop Miners play well out of the blue, or Conceição contribute. That was never going to be the case just because you made a sub. And the goals you conceded in that game were just horrible. Like, two of them are like, it's just, yeah, typical for the season. Vega was playing well, goes down injury, bring in Kelly, and it's a disaster. And that's like literal disaster with Gatti, and it's like, Jesus. Yeah, that's the tipping. Then you have Empoli, that's really bad. That was not even Empoli being good, because they were shit, and they should be shit because they play with B teams and Primavera players, which is crazy because they're relegation side. It was just the effort. Like, there was nothing in there. I was like, what was that? That's the most embarrassing result, purely from effort wise. And then Atalanta, oh boy. Fiorentina, man. Yeah, those 4 games, what is it, a month and a half? It's insane.
You can see so many of them have thrown in the towel.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. I think like a lot of just dipped out, which is not okay, by the way. Yeah, because the excuse
not when you still got Champions League to try and qualify for, which is very important for the your whole club as a whole can breathe and save face if you finish in 4th position at the end of the year.
Yeah, but it's 6 points off the top, and you play Atalanta with that attitude. Even if you're not gonna win it, the attitude was just embarrassing. Again, against Fiorentina, the same. And the excuse cannot be players do not like the coach, because at the end of the day, you're still being paid by us, by the fans. Like, they are, at the end of the day, the reason you're getting paid. That it's as simple as that, and that's the effort you put in. It's just absolutely, that's what I call earlier on. I'm like, it's arrogant. Players think they mean more to the club than they do. That's why when people are panicking about Gatti getting sold and all these players, I'm like, what are we even doing? Somebody told me today he's a hero. I'm like, a hero from what? Like, I had different heroes. Am I watching this club? These are not heroes. Like, absolutely not. So, yeah, man. We had, oh my God. Again, this insane thing. We lost 3 games in the league. It feels like we should have lost 10, but we didn't for some reason. But it will get worse. I will predict that.
It probably could. It can get a lot worse. It can still get a little bit better, especially if you finish 4th, but it can get a lot worse. But yeah, we'll discuss that at another time. Let's move away from our clubs and let's talk about this absolutely insane top 4 race, which has got, basically, let's say that Inter's there, Napoli's there, Atalanta's there. You've basically got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 teams scrapping for 1 spot, separated by 6 points from 53 to 47. I will get the table up on the screen as well while we talk about this, but this is probably the most, we've got a very exciting title race as well, but this is the most exciting top 4 race I think I've seen in a while, man. This is absolute peak at the moment.
Yeah, it's crazy.
It's absolutely
We're not gonna
nuts.
get it.
I don't know about that. Look,
No.
I'm gonna take the banner off for a second. We'll just speak like this for now. What are you saying, bro?
No, we're not going to get it.
You're not going to get it.
No. I said it post Atalanta. It's impossible. We still need to go away to Lazio, Roma, Bologna. With this attitude, they're going to smoke us. They're absolutely they're going to do some crazy. Roma came out of nowhere. Like,
bro,
3
that
points,
needs to be studied, that resurgence, man. That's just nuts. I mean, would you give Ranieri an extension, or no, you got to cut that off at the end of the season?
I'm not sure. I mean, with that ownership, probably yes. Like, we probably keep him.
I feel bad for him. Like, in no world did Ranieri deserve to prolong his retirement like this. I mean, it's
No, but
fantastic, but I could see if they were to offer him an extension, I could see them finishing mid-table and depleted next season under Claudio.
yeah, I think they will keep him. I think
Mm.
with that ownership, but they came okay. Dybala's out for the season, so that's a massive blow. He got surgery, so it's probably gonna take. They're gonna feel it, because he is that important to them. So they're gonna feel that. But that's insane. 3 points. We're not gonna get it. I don't know how we're gonna beat Lazio, Roma, and Bologna away from home, and that's kind of it. That's my thinking. The crazy part is we lost 3 games. If you look at the others, like 8, 8, 9, 8, like it's actually insane. You should be clear of it. Like it shouldn't be actually a debate at this point. Because in any normal season you win 4 or 5 more games.
Yeah.
And it's done. Like it's completely done. The games we threw away are just madness. And how we threw some of the games away is just insane. But that's why we're not going to get it. We don't have it. This squad doesn't have it.
The only team I'm convinced won't get it is Milan. I just think they are that bad and they will drop that many points between now and the end of the season. They'll probably beat us in the Coppa Italia, but I fully expect them to roll over and die against Napoli when we come back from the international break. So
they play Napoli.
Happens. Milan plays Napoli. Yeah, they go. Are they
at home?
I'm gonna say away because we are at home to Udinese. So I'm gonna say it. Yeah, I'm going to say they go to Naples, which will be very tough. But if they could come out of, put it this way, if they come out of Naples with a point and we beat Udinese, you'll start to see a big smile on my face. That's when I'll start to think, okay, this is probably looking like it could happen. But with Milan,
check Napoli's form. It's even worse than I thought.
it's the worst of the teams that we've got pictured up there. Besides Lazio, I think Lazio's got the same form. Lazio just haven't been able to deal with the European hype as well. I feel like if Lazio finished lower down the Europa League standings, they probably would have picked up more points in Serie A because they wouldn't have all gotten into training every day and gone, gee, this Europa League, we're pretty fucking good. Hey, we can probably win this. We can probably win this. And you know what? They just might. You don't know.
Yeah. I mean, but also the work Maroni's doing is insane because the squad is not that big,
It's not a good squad either.
And it's not either like that as well. I don't think Roma have a good squad as well, nor Fiorentina, to be honest. Or they're not poor squad, but I don't look at the Fiorentina squad. I'm like, I want that and that player. Like, there's no stand-up player. They're just okay, good, and same for Lazio, in my opinion. Bologna.
Fiorentina's got a lot of players that suit that environment well at where they're at in their career.
And that's it,
mentally. Robin Gosens looks like the Atalanta Robin Gosens sometimes. But, if you were to put him into a bigger club and ask him to do a bit more at the moment, you'd see where he's strained physically. But, yeah, I think what are the
just
first
Bologna doing something crazy. That's it.
Yeah. What about that? How do you think Motta feels about that? Looking up there and seeing that?
Not great. You know what it is with people? They're knocking him. But at the end of the day, he also built something there to go off. Yeah, they lost Sirksi and Calafiori, but still, like all the rest, like he set that up. So he made a decision, and if you ask him again, he'll probably say, "I would still make that same decision." And why wouldn't he? But yeah, that's insane. I've seen Bologna's fixture list. It's not easy. I think they play all of them. They play us. They play them all, I think. So they don't have an easy schedule, but still, they are doing they're doing a fantastic job. I think nobody would have expected that. I think I predicted them like 7 or something, 7, 6.
Their fixtures when we get back from the break are
tough.
Well, they're tough. They're toughish after their Coppa Italia because they've got Venezia first, and then the Coppa Italia against Empoli. But then they've got Napoli, Atalanta, Inter, away to Udinese, Juve, Milan, Fiorentina. Like they've got the fixture list from the 9th circle of hell going into this last run in for Serie A. If they actually pull off this 4th spot, Bologna, that would be considered an absolute miracle, man.
Yeah, because the running is insane. It's they play them all, like I said. They play all of them. it's actually insane, and winning 5-0 against Lazio, that's crazy. I will watch that game. The football they play was unbelievable as well.
Do you still think Atalanta have a chance to make things scary and
No.
difficult at the top? You're going to say no?
No, they shouldn't.
Their first game back is a big one. I think it's actually, besides the Milan Napoli game, I think you could put down the Fiorentina Atalanta match as the game of the match day.
I've seen enough against you guys. They offered nothing. If I'm being completely honest, they never look like. In my opinion, I watched that game. I never felt like they're gonna take this game away. Or like it's not enough, I guess. But still, like they're up there again. So
yeah,
they shouldn't be winning the league. Let me put it that way.
Yeah. Fair call. Let's move on to the relegation battle. I'll scroll down and then remove the banner again. But we've got a pretty lengthy lineup of teams in that bracket as well. I'm not going to put Como and Verona in that bracket because they're too far up the ladder. And 7 points is not definitive, but 7 points in a relegation fight with 9 games to go is a lot of points. So they're safe, much to my distaste of Verona. But we'll start the relegation fight at Cagliari. 26 points, Lecce on 25, Parma on 25. I think I'm going to just put my hand up and say Parma's probably been the most disappointing out of the clubs that are on the screen right now from 15 to 20. Parma has probably been the most disappointing for me this season in terms of being able to just see through points, see through results. They've been absolutely dire in the back end of matches and just overall have looked like a pretty piss poor team compared to last season, but they did smack Serie B and they probably will survive. Overall, Empoli, Venezia, and Monza are looking like the worst off for the bunch. At the start of the season, I predicted it would be Venezia, Verona, and Lecce. Those were my 3 to go down. Venezia, Verona, and Lecce.
I think
I'll only get one right.
I think at Como, to be honest, I want to say massive credit to Di Francesco. I know it's like 4 draws.
Yeah.
But they have the worst squad in the league, in my opinion.
Like, who, Venezia?
Yeah. I mean,
oh, yeah, bro.
It's horrible. Bad. It's actually like it's a Serie B squad, like and not even a top Serie B. Like it's horrible. It's really bad. I feel for him. I'm not gonna lie. I think he deserves a shot at a better club again. And again, I'm not saying a top 8 club, but he's coaching a bunch of nobodies. And like look at the form. Yeah, they didn't win a game, but in my opinion, that he still has a shot to actually make it out of it. It's not easy. It's 5 points. It's a lot. I don't know their fixtures. Maybe they play all of them. I don't know. But with that squad, to not be in Monza's position, let me put it that, is incredible. Because at the start of the season, I think I put them last. I didn't get like
Venezia. We both had them last. I'm pretty sure we both said this at the start of the season. It's the worst looking Serie A team by far.
Yeah, I think the last time I saw such a bad squad is when Carpi played in Serie A. That was also one horrible squad. That like usually a Serie like they have like a bunch of Serie A players who just bounce around between relegation sides they don't even have those basically.
You're gonna like this, man. You're gonna like this. I'm gonna share this tab. Look at this little bracket of fixtures Venezia has in April. You reckon Di Francesco's looking at this block going, we can save it all in a week and a half here, boys. Check that out.
They can.
Lecce, Monza, and Empoli back to back.
That's crazy. It's big. Monza, probably not big for Monza, but for Lecce, it's big, and for him. But that's massive. That's actually massive. If he pulls that off,
stuff. Yeah.
That's crazy because it's direct. You put them in danger and you kind of come out of it. Actually, can see them take points from Milan as well.
yeah, probably. I think Cagliari will end up safe this season. They'll grind it out, but Empoli's been pretty shit as well.
Yeah, I'm just waiting for the day Cagliari goes down. I'm sorry. I know people will hate me for this opinion. I cannot stand them. They're horrible every season.
Me either, bro. Me either. I've been very vocal on my channel. Yeah, over the years, I've always wanted them to get relegated.
Playing away, that stadium is rubbish for the away end. Like it's not fun, Like I think nobody watches Cagliari games as well. With all due respect, I mean, they're there every single season, but nobody knows why. Like, why are you there? Like
you're
at one point,
my language, man.
they keep getting away with it. It's unbelievable, but they keep getting away with it. But yeah, I don't watch. I don't like to watch Catalytic games. Not even when we play them. By the way.
Yeah, they're a big pain. And then up until not last season, the season before, for a few years now, we just had issues negotiating with their director at the time and doing transfers, and it was just a mess. And then we had the Raja Nangolan situation, which just pissed me off and ticked me over the edge. Anyway, that was fun, man. Thanks for coming on again today. We got through a lot in the 50 minutes. We don't need to spend any time doing any predictions or anything now because you know that'd be silly to do that before all the international break is over. But yeah, thanks for coming around. If you want to tell the people where to find you, your links are in the description anyway. I'm sure they already know.
Yeah, I somebody in the chat, he's always on the channel if we lose, so he knows where to find me. But yeah, pleasure to coming on. It's been more than a month. My fault actually. But the next one will be in a couple of weeks, basically, on my channel, I guess. And hopefully with some better news from me, I guess, because I need it. I need something.
I'm just thinking now, back end of April, early May, there's just going to be so much going on, man, from a title race to the top 4 to relegation. Like we are not going to see anything decisive in this league this season until the last weekend in May, I think. And at least we can be grateful for that. It's going to keep us entertained right to the end.
Yeah. I don't think, in terms of like, if you take emotions out of it, it's probably one of the best seasons because it's close, not maybe quality wise, but because it's close. But if you put emotions in it, it's not fun for me. But
no, it's not. But thank you for facing the music, not only on your own channel, but facing up here as well. We really appreciate it. Thank you very much to everybody that came through. Make sure you like the video, subscribe to the Bianconeri Zone as well, and we will see you next time for another touchline.